There have been some remarkable comebacks in history. Justinian, reconquering most of the Roman Empire, or Winston Churchill, who was politically sidelined in the 30s but returned to lead Britain through its darkest hour during World War II. And here at Canned History, we like to think we understand resilience too, quietly making high quality videos, even if the algorithm doesn't always seem to notice. So let's show the algorithm who's boss, so like the video and subscribe to the channel. Go on, I dare you. But anyway, few comebacks are as dramatic or turbulent as Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who rose to dominate Europe, fell from power, escaped exile, reclaimed his position, but then was ultimately faced with his final defeat. His life reads kind of like a tragic novel, with ambition, brilliance and hubris all tightly intertwined. It's the story of a man who insisted on having the final words, even when the odds were against him. In this video, we're going to look at the rise and fall again of Napoleon Bonaparte. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you've clicked on the right video. And if you're not into that kind of thing, just stay anyway, you'll have a good time. Right, let's get into it, shall we? The year is 1769. The French have looked at the island of Corsica and said, we'll take it. So they've annexed the whole thing, and is now part of the Kingdom of France. And a few months later, little Napoleon is born. What? You think I'm making a joke about his height already? No, I called him little because he's a baby. That's called subverting your expectations. And if that isn't worth a like and subscribe, I don't... You've already said that. Said what? You've already told us to like and subscribe. We get it. You want us to like and subscribe. Just stop it now. It's getting a bit pathetic, yeah? Alright, fine. We'll carry on with the video then. I won't ask you to like and subscribe again. Sheesh. Anyway, moving on. His family were part of the minor nobility, but they weren't exactly rich. But they were by no means the peasantry either. They were doing alright, let's just put it that way. As a fairly young lad, he was sent to mainland France for military education, and he was deemed an outsider because he had a strange Corsican accent and he wasn't from mainland France, and it made him a target of mockery. Listen to that Napoleon kid. Listen to his strange accent. He doesn't sound like he's from France, not like I do. People tell me I've got a perfect French accent. What do you think, Jimmy? Yeah, sounds great. Great French accent. Thank you, je m'appelle. Despite all of this, from a young age it was clear that he was brilliant, focused and intensely driven. He wasn't really working for greatness, he felt that he was destined for it. But he was working obsessively to prepare for that moment. Napoleon! Dinner! Not now, mother. I am preparing for greatness. What is wrong with your voice? You're only 12. That sounded more Italian then. You get the idea. So he's destined for greatness, or so he thinks at least. But how was his rise to power made possible? Well, the conditions had to be right, and they were beginning to be so, thanks to one of the most seismic events in modern history, none other than the French Revolution. Beginning in 1789, when Napoleon was entering his 20s, it swept away centuries of monarchy and privilege, overthrew King Louis XVI, and plunged France into a decade of chaos, uncertainty, and violent upheaval. By the mid-90s, no, I don't mean Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana, I mean the 1790s. Jeez. Was that the worst joke of all time? Probably. So France has experienced the reign of terror and the fall of Robespierre, who to put it mildly was a bit of a naughty boy. And the revolution had exhausted the country. Oh, I did have fun during the revolution, but I'm absolutely exhausted. And although France had gotten rid of the ancien regime and the monarchy and all that, it was still politically unstable, economically strained, and still at war across Europe. So not exactly peacetime. But one benefit, for Napoleon at least, is it created some kind of rare vacuum, meaning someone with his talent and ambition could rise fast. And rise fast Napoleon did. So Napoleon first made a name for himself at the Siege of Toulon in 1793, helping drive the British forces from a key French port. In the name of the Royal Navy, stop right there. I don't think I will stop right there actually, so take you and your stupid wig and go away, yeah? You don't like my wig? No, I don't. You look ridiculous. What are you hiding under there? This isn't the last you hear of me. So the French won. But the British did burn a lot of their ships as a parting gift. So I think we know who really won in the long run. Anyway, enough about that. Rule Britannia. But the point is, at the age of 24, Napoleon was now a famous figure, and he was promoted to Brigadier General. And then a couple of years later in 1795, he suppressed a royalist uprising in Paris with what he called a whiff of grapeshot, earning the gratitude of the new Republican government. And then came his Italian campaign in 1796 and 97. He's a very busy boy at this point, where he defeated Austrian forces and reshaped the map of northern Italy, and returned to France a national hero. Although he may have felt invincible on the battlefield after all his success, his Egyptian campaign in 1798 was less of a success. His attempt to disrupt British trade and influence in the area, well, that ended in retreat and a shattered fleet, but it did boost his fame and his mystique. See, the thing is, he brought back with him scientists and artists and scholars, with many regarding it as laying the foundations for Egyptology, and linking himself with Enlightenment ideals. Oh, Napoleon, you're back from Egypt. How did it go? Oh yeah, it was great. We brought back scientists, a couple of artists. We got a bloke over there who can read hieroglyphics, so that's great. But what about the campaign? The what? The campaign to disrupt British trade, to assert French dominance in the region? Oh, that? Oh, yeah, we lost. Sorry, what was that? We lost. You lost? What about French domination over the British? What about all that? All right, but I brought back a man who can read hieroglyphics. I wanted French dominance over the British, not someone who could read pictures on walls. See, the thing is, Napoleon understood narrative. He knew that even failures could be spun into legend, as long as you controlled the story. And with his failure in Egypt, he definitely did that. Now let's fast forward to 1799. France was now governed by something called the Directory, which was a 5-man executive body, widely viewed as corrupt and ineffective. Ooh, corrupt and ineffective. That sounds familiar. No, we're not going to get political today. And also the great spirit of the revolution had kind of faded by this point. Yes, starvation and uncertainty will do that to a fella. And also France was still at war abroad, and unstable at home. But Napoleon saw an opportunity, because of course he did. With the help of his loyal generals and some political allies, he launched something called the Coup of 18 Brumaire. And on the morning of the 9th of November, 1799, his loyal troops surrounded key government buildings, and he swanned into the legislature, but wasn't greeted to a warm welcome. Instead, he was heckled and physically assaulted by the people there. Yikes. But his brother Lucien was instrumental in Napoleon's rise to power. He was the president of the Council of 500, so to put it mildly, he was pretty powerful and pretty connected. So he helped Napoleon escape. He facilitated his rise and ensured the legitimacy of his takeover due to his position in government. And by day's end, all of Napoleon's opponents had been intimidated into voting for a new constitution. The Directory was gone, and Napoleon was now first consul. Talk about in a day's work. And it didn't take too long for him to consolidate power. In 1802, he named himself first consul for life. A lot of echoes of Julius Caesar here. And then in 1804, he crowned himself emperor in a lavish ceremony in Notre Dame, by placing the crown on his own head, very controversially, rather than allowing the Pope to do it. Napoleon, that's my job. What are you doing? I'm meant to be putting the crown on your head. I came all the way from Rome to do this, and you should... I don't believe it. He's put the crown on his head. I was meant to do that. It's an absolute disgrace. This is a Mickey Mouse event. I'm going back to Rome. This isn't the last you've heard of me. You're the son of the devil. That's probably what the Pope said. We can't be certain, though. One of the great mysteries of history. But the fact of the matter is, he sent a clear message. He was not to be beholden to any power but his own. It was the historical equivalent of giving yourself a promotion. But being emperor wasn't enough for Napoleon. He essentially transformed Europe. He crushed Austria at Austerlitz in 1805, humiliated Prussia at Jena in 1806, and defeated Russia at Friedland in 1807. Talk about a clean sweep. He wasn't done there though. He dissolved the Holy Roman Empire. "You cannot do this! I am the heir to Rome!" "I've got news for you, love. You're a little German sausage, you're the heir to nothing, so get off that throne and go away. Alright, bye-bye." That one's for the Roman historians out there, we know the truth. Anyway, he abolished feudal privileges, but at the same time installed his relatives as the rulers of Naples, Spain, Westphalia, and beyond. He also made civil reforms, the Napoleonic Code, introduced new legal systems, including meritocracy, equality before the law, and secular authority. Meritocracy? Unless you're his relative, then you're just going to be put on a throne anyway. In many places, Napoleon represented modernity, overtaking the old order. And for others, it was just him taking over the old order and putting himself on the throne. Yeah? I think that one's more likely. But as is often the case with these stories, he eventually exceeded his grasp. His blockade of Britain, known as the Continental System, well, it didn't go to plan. It crippled Europe's economies, and it didn't break British resistance. No, sir, it most certainly did not. And his occupation of Spain sparked outrage and the ferocious Peninsular War that drained French resources and morale. So as with any rational person, He called it quits there and went back to France. Oh no, he didn't. Then came the Russian invasion in 1812. Russia's a pretty big place, so naturally Napoleon assembles the largest army Europe has ever seen, which he very originally called the Grand Army. Over 600,000 men from across the empire, they march into Russia. The Russians made a habit of avoiding open battle and kept retreating and retreating deeper into the country, while burning down their towns and supplies in the process. When Napoleon finally reached Moscow, he found it abandoned and largely destroyed by fire. Well, this is disappointing, Napoleon probably said. He saw this as a sign of defeat, so he waited for a Russian surrender, but it never came. And with winter closing in, and his army starving and exposed. "Oh, an exposed Frenchman sounds nice if I do say so myself, and I do. Oh God, thank you, Kenneth Williams. Anyway, so because of all that, he ordered a retreat. It became a bit of a catastrophe, and only a fraction of his army survived the journey home. So not the Grand Army anymore, I suppose. And with this, the myth of his invincibility, well, it was shattered. And in 1814, Allied armies entered Paris, and he was forced to abdicate and was exiled to a small Mediterranean island called Elba. Oh, what a punishment. He gets his own Mediterranean island. How did he cope? But anyway, the Bourbon monarchy was restored, and it seemed Napoleon's story had ended. But it hadn't, and he wasn't done there. And in February 1815, he escaped Elba and returned to France. It was kind of like a battered prize fighter, pulling himself off the canvas, bruised, written off, but not quite finished. As he marched north, soldiers that were sent to arrest him joined him instead, and Louis XVIII, the current ruler of France, well, he fled. And in a matter of weeks, Napoleon was back in power, in a period that we call the 100 Days. To put it mildly, the rest of Europe wasn't too pleased by all of this, and was united in opposition. Napoleon! Napoleon! Yes, go on. Europe is united. See, I told you they'd come around eventually. I told you I was the right man for the job. I've united all of Europe. I just had to give them a little time, a little breathing space to get their heads clear, and now they can see that I'm the one to unite Europe. No, you don't understand. They're united in opposition. They're coming to get you. Ah, that changes things. Oh dear. And this culminated at the Battle of Waterloo on June 18th, 1815, where the Duke of Wellington rocked up with an army and said to Napoleon, "I am sick and tired of all of your nonsense." "What do you mean? You keep rising and falling and it's just I've had enough. I'm putting an end to it. Look at you, you're just a giant shoe. And you're a little Frenchman. So let's do battle, shall we?" And to make matters worse for Napoleon, the Prussian General Blucher, he was on the side of the British. So things weren't looking too good. And the battle went not in his favour. Delays, miscommunications, and the arrival of the Prussians late in the day sealed his defeat. "You are the naughtiest boy I've ever met. I'm going to spank you and spank you and spank you until you learn your lesson." "Oh, are you enjoying this?" "No, I'm not enjoying this. No, please stop." Ooh. So after the defeat and the apparent spanking, there was no leniency. He was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. Oh, another island. Shocking. What a terrible punishment. Admittedly, this was thousands of miles away from Europe. They weren't taking their chances this time. But for Napoleon, at least, this is where the tale finished. He would die there in 1821, at the age of 51. And so came the end of the rise and fall again, of Napoleon Bonaparte. So there you have it. Napoleon's story is one of ambition, brilliance and limits. He came from the edges of French society and rose to dominate Europe, only to lose it all, twice. He was a general of rare talent, a reformer with big ideas, but someone who often pushed just a little too far. His life captures both the promise and the turbulence of his time. And maybe that's why people still find him so fascinating. He just didn't know when to stop, but also didn't give up. His return from exile, however brief, is a reminder that comebacks do in fact happen, even when the odds seem impossible. And if you think about it, he didn't just rise and fall again. He actually rose and fell and rose and fell and rose again. Because if you think about his place in history, he's a near immortal figure, alongside the likes of Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great. He may have died at the age of 51, but he hasn't left the world's imagination. And I don't think he will, anytime soon. Oh, what a journey that video was. Absolutely splendid it was. Oh, dearie me. Well, if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. We've got great videos coming soon, and we have lots of other ones that you can watch in our back catalogue. We're like an old rock band. Anyway, we'll see you next time, or see you in the past maybe. Who knows? It's all exciting and crazy. Goodbye for now.